with Rachel, who won't do my bit. So she's just here. It's fine. No,
Okay.
I appreciate it. I respect you, and the bit is silly. It's fine.
I think you should do whatever your heart desires. And if that's the bit, that's the bit.
Okay, well, so, my name is Ashley Clements.
Do I also have to say something now?
This is Rachel, guys. This is Rachel.
Hi, I'm Rachel.
Close enough. And this is the Look Back Diaries. Check out my Patreon for extended and bonus versions of the episodes. And maybe there'll be some extra tea in there. Rachel, do you think you want to spill any tea?
I think everyone loves tea.
Do you think everyone deserves tea?
Is that the quote?
Yes!
You know what? Here's the thing. On the mug, it says everyone,
everybody.
And then there's that really little, like, the deserves is like that really small font, and it's the only thing I ever see. I'll be lucky if I can even remember everyone's names in the show. Let alone quotes. You were talking about Netherfield, and I was like, is that right?
It's going to be in the show, Rachel.
That's fine.
You know, you might be more familiar with Netherfield if you'd read the book. Have you seen the movie?
I saw the first.
How did you know the plot? You're like, I didn't. I just made that up. Okay, yeah, that is a way to get the plot.
I watched like the first part of the miniseries. Like, are there 3 parts to it?
I think there's
like 6. I watched the first 5 and then I fell asleep. I watched all but the last one and then I fell asleep and then I woke up and I had to give Bernie a script. So my priorities shifted.
I have not wanted to engage with any Pride and Prejudice content since I was Elizabeth Bennet. Yeah. It just felt like it felt weird. I don't think it would feel weird now. I just got in the habit of like, that's not for me. Because I felt too much ownership of Lizzie, maybe too connected, and you feel no connection to Pride and Prejudice. I think ultimately having some outside perspective was valuable.
At first it was like I just hadn't gotten around to it, but as we started actually having writing meetings, it became obvious that being the person who asked, "Wait, why are we doing this?" was actually a useful thing. So from that point on, like I did make the choice not to read it.
Thanks for asking the questions.
Thanks for not doing the homework, you mean?
I don't know. I think it's interesting that it worked out. So here we are with some of what you really cultivated on the show, which was this Lizzie-Lydia relationship. And so we saw them go off to Carter's bar to try to make up for how bad a dinner went, and then we're gonna check in the next morning.
What a freeze frame.
Great freeze frame. It is a great detail that Mary-Kate is wearing what she wore at the end of the previous episode, and her makeup is smudged. I think this is also the first time that we introduced the conceit that she might record an intro after everything else, because that is used strategically a few other times, and I think this is the first time that Lizzie ever sort of admits that she's shooting out of order.
I feel there was definitely a concern earlier on as to whether we could keep the vlog format interesting, so trying new things like that was kind of trying to get around that. I feel like it worked.
Yeah, I think it very much did. But yeah, I mean, we're really sort of stuck in the same, for the first 3 months, we're in the same room, we have the same 4 characters, and we are just kind of telling about events that we can't show because no one... because we didn't have the budget. Yeah. People would ask all the time. They'd be like, can't she just take her camera with her to like one of these parties? And it's like, okay, but from a production standpoint, we have to throw the party. We have to have a very nice house to do it. We have to have like dozens of extras. We have to cast this role that we're not ready to cast yet. And like, no, she can't just use her camera at the party. It's too much work.
Too much transmedia.
Yeah, this is mean. And we had not cast Bing, so I'm just...
Yeah, you guys really had to kind of guess.
Well, and I think for Bing, we were trying to kind of stay more neutral. Like, I don't know, I made a stronger choice for Darcy, but for Bing, we were like, nice guy, nice.
Nice guy for a nice Jane.
Yeah. But it's very enjoyable that Lydia doesn't want to do it because she's hungover.
I was way too happy about all of these whack-a-mole jokes. I don't know why.
You snuck in a lot of references in the show. Something that I remember Bernie talking about a lot at the time is that we were not allowed to reference pop culture and current events because he wanted the shows to stay evergreen. He said that a lot. And, you know, it's funny because like 10 years later, people are still watching them, but of course they don't feel current. Like this feels very 2012 YouTube culture and you know, there's a lot of things about it. Like obviously it's dated in certain ways, but you circumvented that no pop culture reference probably the most, but with just very subtle.
Yeah, I snuck in a lot of things that nobody noticed.
Yeah. But you know.
That was actually, switching real quick, on the Lydia vlogs, I think Mary Kate and I managed to work in like references to everything she'd been in up to that point.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah. This is a really interesting episode in terms of the relationship dynamics here because there's so much conflict in general between Lizzie and Lydia, but like they're still sisters, they're still spending time together. She had drunk Lydia sleeping in her bed. Like you find these moments where they show care for each other. I just think that you were most interested in the Lydia-Lizzie relationship.
I think I was also just the most interested in conflict. Which, as you know, it was a little harder to get that some of the times with the other characters, but it was easy with them.
There's this element here of like knowing each other. I mean, look, and Lizzie's still kind of slut-shaming Lydia for whatever she was doing in the bar with, you know, I think that's the equivalent of like flirting with the officers in Meriton kind of thing. I know you know exactly what I'm talking about because you're such a Pride and Prejudice devotee.
Yeah, Meriton, that's like a Lord of the Rings thing, right?
To me. Yep. I think that we see interesting bits of relationship happening, even though there isn't like that much plot movement that can happen. And it's interesting to say, you know, we're still in the chunk of episodes that you said were written before anyone started rolling any cameras. We're just talking a lot about these people we don't see. And at the beginning, there was a lot of talk about like, when will we see at all these characters? At this point, you know, I don't remember, well, certainly not when you had written it, but when we were shooting, I don't remember if we were talking yet about that we were definitely going to be casting Bing and Caroline.
I feel like there was so much uncertainty when we started as to how far we would actually get.
Oh, right, because there was also the feeling of like, will anyone watch this? Will it be sustainable? Like, will there be more show?
I think we only had the budget for like the first 24 episodes or something like that.
Right, which was like, you know, provided by Hank as an experiment to see if this was successful.
And that was 3 shoot days. So after that, we were like, we got to see, like, is this going to be self-sustaining? Unfortunately, it was, which was crazy.
And the 4th shoot day is when we go to Netherfield. So that is like, yes, we can keep making more of this when we cast more people. Later, when people were asking me questions, they would say, you know, did you feel a lot of pressure playing this like incredibly iconic character? You know, did it weigh on you to be a good Elizabeth Bennet? And I said, oh, I didn't think about that at all. I read the book. I'd seen I haven't seen all the versions of the movies, but I'd seen several versions of the movies. But ultimately, I was given a script, and that was my main source of text. And I had a lot of opinions about the scripts, especially later on. I wasn't so bold as to give a lot of feedback right at the beginning, and then later I was very pushy.
But honestly, it was always the better for it too. I was always so psyched for you to like do your thing, and I would hear about it and I'd be like, cool, I'm happy about all these changes.
Let's do the thing where I check the comments. Lily James, she has other top comments. I assume that is the Lily James.
Must be.
Says,
she's a big fan.
Yeah,
I heard so.
Mm-hmm. Darcy can go play whack-a-mole in the corner by himself. LOL. I bet he did for a large portion of that year. Whoa! Whoa! Racy, if you don't get it at home, this is a masturbation joke. And
the more you know.
And Rachel wrote it in. So thanks for doing that. Francis Lally says, I need to see Lizzie and Darcy playing Just Dance together. Too bad. We cannot provide. And apparently the Lizzie Bennet Diaries itself wrote, well, if I can convince you all that he wears a head mirror everywhere he goes, my reenactments are doing something right. Feels like she must have been responding to something. Don't know why that's exactly that comment. But yeah, obviously the Bing Costume Theater. I mean, it all has the very sort of like kids costume box vibe to it that she was like a doctor.
Because, I didn't know that you picked that stuff out.
I didn't remember it. So I'm glad I wrote it down. I literally was like, oh yeah, Katie Most did that because she was the keeper of it. She had a box. I can picture the box. And for years afterwards, I remember her telling me that she still had that stuff. And now I don't know. But.
I like that you wrote it down because it makes me imagine you writing in a Lizzie Bennet Diaries diary, just everything.
No, it's the blog. It's the Tumblr. It's the clothing Tumblr. Well, it's been a pleasure to have you, Rachel, and I look forward to bringing you back. The rest of you also come back. Everybody come back. We'll look back. You get it.